In 2009, the population of donkeys stood at 1.8 million. Later, the Ministry of Livestock did a census in 2016, and the population was 1.96 million. That provides a growth of about 1.04%. I think our biggest concern now is that the slaughter rate stands at 5% of the population. What that means is that we are slaughtering the donkeys at a rate of 5 times the rate of production. And that means this is not sustainable. We cannot continue to slaughter them. We will not have any donkeys. And the research already shows that by 2023, we actually may not have a single donkey. That the research we have is that the Chinese slaughterhouse were able to generate 1.72 billion from the meat products. There was no declaration on what they got from the skin. And our approximation is that that was probably around 15 billion Kenyan shillings. What they paid to the government is only 79.9 million shillings, which is really 0.4%. That's really low. On the other side, if you look at what the owners lost, which is over 28 billion, considering only 25% of the animals that were slaughtered, it's a huge loss to the community. And so even from the economic standpoint, it doesn't stand the test. We cannot use any economic argument to support these slaughterhouses. We are losing more than we are gaining from them. I think that should be a challenge to the government. If there is any reason they have, which is much better than the reason that the other neighboring countries are using to be able to ban slaughterhouses, they should be able to come out and say it. And we have often told the government that we know that this trade is not sustainable. There have been even issues or initiatives around breeding. And again, we've said this is not sustainable because even China as a country has not been able to do any proper breeding. So why would we claim that as a country we can do something that a developed world, a more technologically advanced country like China cannot do itself? I think we should be concerned about feeding our people, about enabling them to earn their livelihoods, about making sure that they don't lose their assets. And I think it is really up to the government to make sure that these assets are protected. In licensing the slaughterhouses, one of the conditions attached to the licensing was for them to have their own breeding farms. And as far as we know, there's no breeding taking place. And even if they wanted to, we doubt whether it can meet the demand, But the other reasoning is if they were breeding this and they could do it successfully in China, then there would not be any reason for them to come and get the donkeys from this continent. We want the ban on this trade. And we also want a crackdown on the smuggling of donkeys from the neighboring countries to this. Because these are our people as well. They are also losing their livelihoods. And I think you may have heard of the owners complaining here. The owners from Ethiopia, from Tanzania, from Uganda, they're very much affected by the slaughterhouses that are located there. The law may have allowed the government to license them, but the laws should serve us, right? The laws should not kill us. So if you have a law that is taking away the livelihood, should we not relook at that law? Should we not think about whether we need it or not? So I don't think we can hide behind the law if we are taking away the livelihoods of the people. Many of the countries have banned this trade. So you're talking about Senegal, you're talking about Burkina Faso, you're talking about Ethiopia, even our own neighbor Uganda has banned it. Botswana has. It is only Kenya that is at the epicenter of this trade. And it's affecting everyone in the continent.
I'm here because we have a crisis. We have a global issue with the demand of donkey hides for the Chinese market. They can't produce the hides themselves, so they're searching elsewhere for donkeys. And here in Kenya, we have 4 slaughterhouses slaughtering 1,000 donkeys a day. And over the last 3 years, we've seen the population of donkeys reduce by over 300,000. That's why it's a crisis here in Kenya. This morning we've heard stories of people affected by the trade, people whose donkeys were stolen, people that have had to take their children out of school, women that are now having to carry the water for their families' needs. People have become destitute because of this crisis. So it's unacceptable for so many donkeys to be slaughtered for a market outside of this country. And not only are people in Kenya being affected, we're also seeing people in Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, and we heard from all of them this morning. It's been very moving. The stories of people are quite heartbreaking, and we want governments to listen to these stories. We want, as Brook, to work together with governments. We wanted people in the community to have their voices heard, but we want to work together to find a solution. What we've heard this morning is only one solution. The solution is the trade has to be banned. The trade in donkey skins has to be stopped. The slaughterhouses have to be closed. That's what we've heard this morning. For the rest of this conference, we'll listen to the facts, we'll listen to more experiences, we'll discuss, we'll debate, and we'll wait and see what the conclusion from the conference is. But it's very clear to me this morning, the solution, the only solution, is the trade has to be stopped. Abattoirs may be making money, they may also be giving jobs. But when you look at the statistics, a donkey earns a family 11,390 Kenyan shillings per month. How many donkeys are being stolen? How many donkeys are being slaughtered? It doesn't take much to do the maths to work out what's being lost in the economy as a result of this. I think if you look at all the figures, you'll find that the loss of the donkey far outweighs any gain caused by the slaughterhouses and the trade, any gain to the economy here in Kenya. The demand is just so enormous. If you think, where are 1,000 donkeys a day coming from to be slaughtered? So they're being stolen from families, they're being stolen from outside of Kenya. Some, of course, will be sold into the trade, but the lifetime value of a donkey and the contribution it makes to a family, often living quite close to the poverty line, far outweighs any cash income that they will get in a sale. So I think some are being sold willingly, I'm sure, for a short-term cash gain, but that doesn't compensate for the lifetime value. And those that are being stolen, we've heard some stories today, devastating stories of people who've had their donkeys stolen and they found their heads in the bush. So not only are we talking about legal slaughter, we're talking about illegal slaughter here. And the compensation, the fees, is not sufficient for the loss that's happening to the community. So I'm here from London, not because this is important to London, but because this is important to the people in Kenya and the people of the surrounding countries. I want their voices to be heard, I want their stories to be told, and I want to work with governments to find a solution.
So the East African region.
So in West Africa, we've seen a ban in Senegal, in Burkina Faso, and discussions of bans in other countries. So Brook is working to help implement those bans. But of course, the trade goes underground, and we're seeing migration of donkeys into countries like Nigeria. Now, Nigeria has no licensed slaughterhouses, but donkeys are still being slaughtered. So we do have issues across the continent. And in fact, this goes far beyond Africa. There are issues in other countries like Pakistan, in Brazil, in Australia. But the crisis is here in Kenya, and we need the government to take action here in Kenya. And every day we delay action, another 1,000 donkeys are being slaughtered. So this has a real sense of urgency because people's lives are being devastated by the trade. I've seen no evidence on the efficiency of this. And as we heard today, people live longer in other countries and they don't take this product. But it's traditional, it's a Chinese medicine, it's a lifetime of history with many families. And as Chinese people are becoming more wealthy, there's a greater demand for it. But you know, I think we need to look to other products, we need to look to substitutes, we need to look for alternatives, because devastating families here in Kenya is not the answer.
We are Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization, and our mandate is very clear, it's a research. And we collect data because data can help people make informed choices. So when we did the survey in April 2019, we actually were able to confirm about the reported thefts and slaughters, part of it illegal in the bushes. But that we also found that has had a tremendous effect on the donkey numbers that has tremendously gone down. with also significant impact on the livelihoods of the keepers. They use the donkeys for transportation. Some use them for making income, for trade. They hire to people, they transport goods for other people, and they use them to make an income, besides using them for selling their own farm produce to the market, because honestly there are areas in this nation where motorized transport will not work. A case like Mwea, the rice fields, even though you have a vehicle, the vehicle cannot go into rice paddies to get out the rice. So that's how important they are still in Kenya. Affect their productivity and their life in general in terms of income, because some of these donkey keepers totally depend on them for their income. Again, the other issue of the trade, donkey trade, sustainability is a big challenge, considering the numbers that are there, they are going down. And as a country, we have not put in place mechanisms to sustain the supply. Perhaps that's another discussion, but those were our observations.